guys, in this video I'll be reviewing Meriijn's Fullbody Beast workout program. So I just found this video and just because I was looking for programs to review. First of all, I have to say Fullbody Beast is a great name for a program. Yeah, it's supposed to be an intermediate program, and it's 4 days a week. And so I got it emailed it, and you just get emailed like this Google Drive PDF. So let's jump in. We'll start from the top, and I haven't read any of this, just to give you guys the vibe of someone who's reading it for the first time. So, warm-up, low-intensity cardio, 5 minutes, stationary bike, treadmill. You don't have to do this. I think a lot of programs like to cover their bases by like making you do some sort of cardio to start with. You don't have to. You can if you want to, especially because it says low intensity. It's unlikely to hurt you, but it won't bring much, unless you're physically cold. It's a cold winter's day or anything. Then we've got side leg swing, front, back leg swing, arm circles, each for 10 reps, side lying rotation, scapular retraction, each for 10 reps, like, fine, no worries. I don't think you need to, but it's not going to hurt you. And to be honest, as a PT, I'd do some of the shit with my clients anyway, especially if they, like, you know, you're sitting all day at work or whatever. Push up, 1 times 10, yeah, okay, sure. Pull up, 1 times 5. Some people that's not a warm up, some people that's a working set. Straight arm kettlebell wrist turn. Oddly specific, but probably not going to hurt you. All in all, the warm-up I think is a bit of fluff just to add to the start of a program, but it's not going to hurt you, so I don't hate it. But first, okay, so he's just giving us a little warm-up guide here. So I'll read you his example. Do 2 to 4 light sets progressively getting heavier. Yep, fully agreed. This applies to compound lifts. So for example, you might do a bar for sets of 10, 40 for 8, 60 for 6, 80 for 3, 90 for 1, and then you go to 100. Yeah, I don't think this is a bad warm-up protocol. The only thing I'd say is it's probably worth doing 1 at your working weight as well. But, I mean, I'm really splitting hairs here. This would be totally fine. I've done warm-ups like this my whole life. But I just recently have started doing a single rep at my working weight as well, and I think it does help. But yeah, I mean, this is all good. Nothing wrong with that. Fullbody Beast. I love it. It's such a good name. Day 1. So he says this is for intermediates, by the way, so I'm going to review it in that context. 1 set of front squat. This is odd. The way he's written this is odd. So it's 1 set of front squat, and then 2 sets of front squat. I guess he's just done this to change the reps up. So what he's trying to say is 1 set of 5, and then 2 sets of 8. Front squat, just for intermediates, I just think the front squat is not the greatest movement because, look, if you're good at front squatting, I think it's fucking amazing. But a lot of people aren't. A lot of people are challenged by mobility and they don't get the best out of it. So if I was writing a program for the general audience, I wouldn't prop in front squats. But it's not terrible. And so basically you got 3 sets. The first set's 5, the second 2 are 8. I don't like that it's not a rep range. I don't like that it's static reps. Because, like, for example, you've got these 2 sets of 8, right? The first one, you might get 8. The second one, unless you went really easy to get 8 the first set, you're not going to get 8. You might get 7 or 6. Or you're going to go real easy on the first one, so you get 8. So you've got 2 sets of 8, but you sandbag one of the sets. But yeah, that's fine. Then we go to muscle ups. What is this program for? If this is hypertrophy, I'm just going to, okay, you know what? I'm just going to review this as if it's for bodybuilding. He may be doing some athletic shit here, but I kind of think it is for hypertrophy, because a lot of these are hypertrophy movements. It's got skull crusher and stuff here, so later on. So let's just say it's for hypertrophy. Muscle up is a shitty hypertrophy movement. It's fun and it looks cool. Reps max, rest 2 to 3 minutes. Yeah, this muscle up is a shitty hypertrophy movement. It's basically like a fast pull-up, and then you do like a weird dip at the top. Why not just do dips and do pull-ups for hypertrophy purposes? Also, we are resting 2 to 3 minutes between all of these. It says 2 to 3 minutes rest. Why not superset some stuff in here? I'm sure there's going to be stuff missing from this program. I'm sure I'm going to be raving about how there's no abs or forearms or, you know, just isolation in general. You could superset that stuff here, but you're choosing not to. And it's fine. You don't have to superset. You don't have to be a psychopath, but it just feels like you're sitting there doing nothing anyway, right? But that's fine. Then we go, so yeah, muscle ups, not a big fan of hypertrophy purposes, muscle growth purposes. Then we go to weighted pull-ups, 2 sets of 8. Obviously, I'm not a fan of the lack of rep range. I'll stop mentioning that, but yeah, no rep range. Because, of course, once again, I'll just quickly explain it, is if you do 8 on the first set, you're not going to get 8 in the second set unless you went really easy on the first set. But good, weighted pull-ups is an excellent movement. Jefferson curl. What is a Jefferson curl? Sorry, please hold for Google. Jefferson curl. I'm sure I know this movement. I know a lot of great exercise for lower back and posterior chain flexibility. Okay. Oh, of course, Jefferson curl is like the thing where you do a full body bend. Yeah. It's weird to have it here because as far as I know, Jefferson curl is not a hypertrophy movement. Look, with that said, it may be a hypertrophy movement. Deep stretch on hamstrings with weight. If this is, I guess he's just putting this kind of like as a hamstring builder. I don't hate it necessarily. Oh, I don't know enough to hate it. You sorry, I had to Google it. Hammer curl, 3 sets of 12. I noticed we've got shorter rests for our hammer curls here, which makes sense. I don't even think we need to rest that long. I don't think you need to rest a minute between sets. So hammer curl, I guess just a little bit of bicep work and some forearm work. No problem there. We'll come back and talk about the structure of the program later, because obviously this is a full body split that we're running here. Which honestly, I prefer a full body split to a freaking body part split any day of the week. So, I'm not complaining about that. Then we go day 2. So that was day 1. Day 1 done. Day 1 seems kind of, it seems kind of light. It seems like kind of an easy day. Obviously, front squat's going to be hard. Then you do muscle ups, which are kind of a meme exercise. Like they're technically hard, but not super physically hard. Weighted pull-ups, definitely hard. Jefferson curls and hammer curls, I can't imagine that difficult. Like, I don't finish a set of hammer curls, but like, oh my god. So pretty easy day 1, but not horrible. I feel like you could do more. I feel like this would be a day some supersets would go really well. And then we move to day 2. We start with Romanian deadlift. Only 2 sets, which I find, obviously you're going to get a little bit of benefit from a warm-up, but I honestly wonder, like, by the time you've done all that warm-up to do your Romanian deadlift, why not, do some more sets? Do 3, or even 4. Maybe 3. 3 would be good. 8, I think, is a good rep range for Romanian deadlift. Once again, we're resting 3 minutes, so you could superset something here. Hip abduction. I'm assuming he means on the abduction machine. Yeah, it's fine. It's kind of odd to throw in here. I feel like a hip abduction is something you could superset with some other stuff. A lot of programs don't even train it at all, which is fine. But he's got it here. Then we go to bench press, which is this is one problem with full body. I like full body, but the one problem is that you've warmed up for your Romanian deadlifts. You've warmed up your hip abduction. This might be a great time to do some squats or something like that. You kind of like your legs are ready and warm, and then you're gonna go do bench press, which is a totally different thing to warm up for. But I like the amount of sets. 3 sets I think is great for a bench, and 5 reps. Yeah, heavy hard bench. No worries, that's good. Helms row. Jesus, I thought I knew about hypertrophy training. What the hell is a Helms row? Please hold for Google. Oh, so a Helms row is like it's like a bent over, dumbbell bent over row, but it's like chest supported by a bench. That looks like a good exercise. I could imagine that making a lot of sense. I mean, I don't necessarily know why you don't just do a bent over row, but I guess if you don't want the axial fatigue, then yeah, not a problem. I don't hate it. Once again, we do run into a little weird thing though, where now we have to warm up for that as well. Because we just benched, so we've warmed up our chest, we've warmed up our legs, now we're going to warm up our back. But that's just kind of an occupational hazard of full body, and it's not the end of the world. Once again, we're resting 2 minutes between those Helms rows. Wouldn't that be a great time to do some like isolation? You could do some traps, you could do some forearms, you could do some abs. Because you're chilling for 2 minutes anyway. Then we have skull crushers. Good exercise, nothing wrong with skull crusher, some triceps. Once again, we run into the little thing where it's like, you'll have to warm up for it. Then seated calf raise. Oh, I should mention the rep range for Helms row is 12 to 15 for 3 sets, and then it's 3 sets of 12 to 15 for skull crusher, which I think is a great rep range. Nothing wrong with that. Your isolations tend to be in a higher rep range, and I think especially with the skull crush, maybe this is just my bias, I feel like higher rep range just feels a little more safer and more comfortable because it's a big weight to get in position. So higher reps just feels nice on those, no problem. And then we have seated calf raise, 3 sets of 8 to 10. Pretty heavy for seated calf raise. Typically, you might go higher reps, but it's not a problem. And I think 3 sets is totally fine. This day, ironically, it's not ironically, yeah, that's the wrong word. Interestingly, it looks a lot harder. But day 2 looks a lot harder than day 1. Day 2, we've got Romanian deadlift, hard exercise. We've got bench, hard exercise. We've got those Helms rows, which if you're sending, look like they're going to be hard. They are chest supported, but it's still a big, heavy row. Skull crush is a tough movement. So this is a much harder day. Then we go through to day 3. Muscle up with resistance band for 2 sets of 10. We talked about why I think that muscle ups are a shitty hypertrophy movement, and I think this is even shittier, unfortunately, for hypertrophy, because now we've got a resistance band, which is actually going to make the stretch at the bottom of the muscle up, which might be a bit where we're getting the most stretch on our lats for hypertrophy, going to make that even easier. So I'm not a fan of this at all. Technically difficult movement. And look, if you can do muscle ups, you're a beast, but you don't build your muscles doing them. You express your muscles doing them. And you show that what you've done. And once again, we've got super sets of 10, that's fine. I'm assuming you just choose your resistance band and allow 2 sets of 10. The rest is, once again, 2 to 3 minutes. We could be supersetting stuff here, no problemo. Abs probably would be great here. Leg press, sure, nothing wrong with a leg press. 3 sets of 10 to 12, I think it's a good rep range. I want to just stop mentioning the superset thing, but just kind of imagine supersets between all of this stuff would probably be advantageous. Lying hamstring curl, no worries there. The one thing to think about though is we did train hamstrings heavy and hard yesterday because we did Romanians, and then we go do hamstrings again the next day. But one thing to remember is that it doesn't give us days, like it doesn't tell us when the rest breaks are. I assume you choose when your rest days are. So it's possible you took a rest day in between. So that's something to keep in mind. Then we go lat pullover. I'm assuming he means a dumbbell pull over here. A great movement, and I think good rep range, 3 sets, 12 to 15, that's great. Lateral raises, 3 sets of 20. This is where a aerobic rep range would be really good because you're going to have to sandbag the hell out of your first couple of sets to get 20 again on the third one because you're going to be really burnt out. And 20 is very high reps, so you're going to be super, super pumped, super, super muscular fatigue. So your first 2 sets are going to have to be unbelievably chill for you to get 20 again on the last one. But, and it's interesting because he knows about evolving rep ranges because a lot of his other stuff, like this next thing, face pulls, 15 to 20, is an evolving rep range. So I'm not sure why we weren't allowed one for our lateral raises. But whatever. And then we go, but I think 15 to 20, by the way, I should mention for next exercise, face pull. I think that's great. 3 sets of face pull, 15 to 20. Great rep range. Great amount of reps. That's all good. Sets, I should say. Then farmers carry 2 sets of 30 seconds. Yeah, sure. You know what? I don't hate farmers carries. I'm assuming he's put these in as a forearm movement. Yeah. This is an odd program to review because it's so full body. It's so committed to the full body. It's very random. It feels, the structure is very hard to, it's hard to see what he was thinking because it's just, stuff's just thrown in there. But this day kind of seems to me that he's basically put together, like, let's just forget about the muscle ups. I think they're goofy. Just don't worry about them. He's basically put together a leg day, like quads and hamstrings. Then he's put a little bit of back, shoulders, and some grip. So yeah, sure. This is not a bad day. Once again, this day looks kind of a little more difficult than day 1, but probably easier than day 2. Then we go through to day 4. Oh, this is our last day. What the fuck is... Okay, you know what? I'll get to that in a sec. Weighted pull-up, 2 sets of 5. Once again, long rest rate, could be supersetting something here. Weighted pull-up is an excellent movement. I wouldn't necessarily open a day with it. It feels like we could have a compound here. But nothing wrong with weighted pull-up. 2 sets, though, kind of feels like you've warmed up for your weighted pull-ups. You know, they take a bit of warming up, like you're in. Why not just do an extra set? Especially because it seems like a very short day. This is a very short day. This is the easiest day by far. Then we have overhead dumbbell lunge walk. He's got a supersetted to squat jumps. What? What is this? This is the most this is such an odd program. Like, okay, so overhead dumbbell lunge walk. Does he explain what that means? Does he mean you hold the dumbbells up here? Or maybe you hold them in like a front rack position? Just give me a second. Okay, here he's talking about abs a little bit. What is it? We'll get to that in a second. But this is just fucking odd. I don't know what he means. I'm going to assume that he means you hold them above your head, which is just goofy. Like, do walking lunges if you want. Very okay exercise. Nothing wrong with walking lunges. Decent knee flexion. Or if you really need the shoulder stability, like I dislocated my shoulder a while ago, so maybe it could work for me. Do maybe some walks with weight above your head if you want to, but it's probably a bit goofy. But combining them is like next level goofy. You're going to get shitty lunges because you're going to be like unstable, and you get shitty shoulder stability because you can't focus on it. And then just to make it even more spicy, we're supersetting that to squat jumps. What are the squat jumps doing? What's their purpose? And why are we supersetting them to this odd dumbbell lunge walk? And we're only doing 8 reps, and we're resting 2 minutes. So I'm assuming you finish your squat jumps and just sit there for 2 minutes. And there's no way you can do any decent amount of weight to challenge your legs, because any amount of weight you can hold up here, you cannot do, you can't hold enough to challenge your legs. That is just, and then the superset to squat jumps is so odd to me. There's no way you're going to be tired enough from those lunges to get anything hypertrophy out of those squat jumps. Weird. Very weird. This is an odd program. Then we go to chest press machine. So we've got no compounds on this day, by the way, not a single compound. It's just all isolation and fluff. The closest we get is weighted pull-up, which, to be fair, is close. Chest press machine, 3 sets, 12 to 15. I don't hate the rep range. I don't hate the amount of sets. Standing calf raise, 3 sets, 12 to 15. And then cable curl, superset to cable push down, 3 sets, 12. So we finally get some supersets on this last day. And I don't hate that superset, cable curl to cable push down. You're on the cable machine, you don't have to move. You get a good pump in both muscles, and 12 is a decent amount of reps. This is a very odd program. I'm going to read through this little bit about abs, and then we can go back to the top and maybe just give some final thoughts. He says here he trains abs directly 2 to 3 times a week after one of these workouts or on a rest day. He does cardio twice a week, HIIT twice, and low intensity cardio twice a week. And he just says what he does. Okay, here's some logic here. If you're training strictly for bodybuilding purposes, you can swap the overhead dumbbell lunge walk squat jump for overhead barbell press and Bulgarian split squat. Oh, thank God. Okay, this makes so much more sense. I'm not sure what the fuck he's doing those dumbbell lunge walk things for. Maybe some weird athletic shit I don't know about. But yes, this is so much better. So if you were to take his advice here, let's just go back and rethink our lives a little bit. If you were to take his advice and swap that overhead dumbbell lunge walk, then you would have standing overhead press, which is a beautiful compound for the shoulders, and then you do Bulgarians, which is a fantastic movement for quad hypertrophy. So you actually have 2 big hard compounds on this day, and you make this day a serious hypertrophy day. So that actually does help a lot. It helps a lot. I'd still probably do them before I would do my weighted pull-ups. I just switch out the order a little bit, but this turns this day into a much more better day, as Jack Sparrow might say. And that's the end of the program. Nice graphic design he's got, but I have some issues. Shall we just maybe sum it up real quick? Shall we just maybe have a look at some muscle groups? Because I think with full body, you can get a bit confused. It's a lot being thrown at you. But if you just kind of break it down to body parts and just see how often we're training them per week. So front squats, so we've got quads on day 1. Then we don't train them on day 2. We train them again on day 3. And if we were to do Bulgarians, I'm just going to assume we do Bulgarians, we train them again on day 4. So that's quads 3 times a week, which is not bad. Not bad at all. If we go back up here, do we have any, the only horizontal back work we have is that Helms row on day 2. So we could do some more rows, I think, here. We do have a deadlift. We only have 1 squat per week, which is that front squat. But we do have a deadlift. We do some hip abduction. We've got no abs. He does say he trains abs separately, but it's not in his program, so people aren't really going to do it. We've got no abs. We've got no forearms. We do have cars twice a week. We've got no... what are we missing? It's hard to analyze because it's such an odd day. We do have lateral raises 1 time a week. And we do have skull crushers. So, look, this is not a bad program, and this is one of the things where I think even like a very slightly odd or weirdly put together full body program blows a body part split out of the water any day of the week, because we're actually training most muscles 2 or 3 times a week, which is fantastic. And even though it's a bit odd, and even though it's probably going to take you a while at the gym because there's a lot of sets with long rest breaks, you're at least training multiple body parts multiple times a week with decent rep ranges and decent sets amounts. There is some goofy shit in here. Look, the muscle ups are goofy. They're not a good hypertrophy movement. And of course, there was that weird as hell overhead dumbbell lunge walk, which we're allowed to replace, which is nice. And there's some odd stuff, some odd choices. Like the hip abduction is an odd choice to put in the program when you don't have any abs. You don't have any forearms, but you got hip abduction. It's an odd call. But we've got compounds on most days. We're benching. We don't have any dumbbell work. We don't have any dumbbell bench or dumbbell overhead or anything like that. But we do have a barbell bench. We've got a heavy row. We've got a decent amount of vertical pulling. If we just swap, for example, were to swap those muscle ups to pull ups, then you've got a decent amount of vertical pulling. We've got some rear delts with the face pulls. We've got no trap isolation, so no shrugs or anything. Those could definitely be supersetted in here. But we do have some nice. We could do more biceps, because am I looking here? Do we just have biceps once a week? Yeah, because the hammer curls aren't really a bicep exercise, they're mostly a forearm exercise. So if we don't count those, we just had biceps on day 4. So definitely some more biceps could go here. But I don't hate this program. I really don't. Like I said, body part splits, even an odd one blows. Full body blows body part out of the water. Just because, this even though I could, I'd tweak the set amounts, I'd toss some supersets in, I'd toss a bit more in, and maybe pull out like hip abduction. The fact of the matter is, we're training most muscle groups multiple times a week. Which is lovely. Although, as I say that, just as I'm about to sign off here, we're only training chest once. Is the bench press our only chest movement the entire week? Okay, so that is one glaring weakness. We're only training for the entire week of training. You are getting 3 sets of chest. So that's not good. That needs to change. You could superset some push-ups in with something else here, maybe some weighted push-ups, something. Honestly, it's not a bad program. It's not bad at all, but there's some kind of holes in it, as you can kind of see. So hopefully this gives you an idea that full body is not the enemy, but it's relatively complex to program, and I think this one kind of, and you sort of took me a little while to kind of synthesize there what the issues were, because there are issues. You can't only train chest 3 times a week. And he's probably going to give you some bullshit that the muscle ups train your chest, which, if you're using muscle ups to train your chest, you're not going to get much out of it. Just that tiny little half dip at the top, where you're using momentum and everything from a pull-up. So that's a big glaring hole. I don't hate it. It's not bad, but it could be a lot better. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully it made some sense to you. Cheers.